Okay, now that I see the recording has started, I'm going to start fresh. Again, my name is Veronica Crenshaw, and I am serving as the Special Education Director here at Georgia Cyber Academy. I am filling in this evening for our Special Education Parent Mentor, Jennifer Anderson. This is her presentation with me as I on her behalf. But at any time, feel free to unmute yourselves and ask any questions, and I will do my best to answer them. So we're going to go ahead and get started again talking about building blocks of academic success. And we're focusing tonight on breaking those barriers so that we can have math success. So our agenda, we are going to be looking at what are the processes involved in math skills, how skills are developed by age, those roadblocks that can interfere with math skills, strategies to help break through those roadblocks, and then I'll provide you guys with some references and leave time for some questions as well at the end. So math skills 101. So here at the bottom right, that would have been Jennifer Anderson, just so you know. But I am here in her stead. So processes that are involved in math, there are 4 types. We have memory, language skills, temporal sequential ordering, and spatial ordering, okay? And so our memory, if we focus on that, we're looking at those patterns, that memorization skill, looking at rules, our active memory. Language skills, think just vocabulary, okay? The temporal sequential ordering is the ability to put things or do things or keep them in the right order. So that is looking at how a math problem flows, for example, how numbers relate to one another. And then spatial ordering is going to be the ability to recognize symbols and form mental images. So that's actually recognizing a number from what you see and then knowing that it is a number 5. I see a number 5 and I know it's a number 5. So during this stage, children should begin to count aloud. They should be able to count the number of objects in a room. So we're focusing on the pre-K to kindergarten age, okay? So during this stage, children should be able to count aloud, count the number of objects in a room, be able to have a number quantity connection, sort objects by size, follow 2 and 3 step directions, and begin to perform very basic addition and subtraction problems. So that is where we should be in that age group. When we look at grades 1 through 3, now students should be able to master those simple addition. They should know basic facts. They should be able to recognize math signs, perform appropriate functions, grasp the concept of multiplication, understand the notion of measurement, and be able to apply that and improve their concepts of time and money. Right, when we look at students in grades 4 through 7, again, it's just continuing to build. So we have a better understanding of multiplication. We're competent with more complex things such as fractions and decimals and percentages. We're beginning to understand the relationship among fractions, decimals, and percentages, moving our understanding to solving word problems, looking at rounding and estimating strategies, and developing basic computer skills. In grades 8 through 12, we're using higher levels of thinking in math. We're able to flow smoothly from fractions to decimals and percentages. We're easily performing and solving equations. We're able to explain mathematical concepts. We're able to plan and self-monitor during multi-step problem solving. That's kind of sometimes making sure, hey, I made an error here. I can go back and figure out where I made my mistake. And we're using calculators and computers with confidence at this stage. So if you can, I don't know if you guys have access to the chat, but you can give me a thumbs up for A. And let me see what other symbols we have. On your feedback, you can give me a check. You can give me a check for yes and an X for no. But a 4-year-old can count to 5, but when you give them 5 pennies, they tell you there are 8. Is this a sign that there might be a math disability? What do you guys think? Give me a check for yes or an X for no. Or I see some folks with thumbs up. But yeah, a check for yes and X for no. Thank you. Thank y'all for changing that. No. So no. Can someone tell me why this would not be a sign there's a math disability? Feel free to come off mute. Anyone a brave person? Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and answer that's a waste of time. But a 4-year-old, we wouldn't expect them. Their skills have not developed yet in this area to tell you spatial, right? Their spatial development is not doesn't allow them to do this yet. However, with a second grader doesn't understand that 1/4 is 25% and is 0.25 and 25% are the same amount. Is this a sign that there might be a math disability? And you can give me a check for yes and an X for no. Okay, so no. Again, we have to look at the age of the student. We do expect them to know, but percentages and decimals and things like that, we don't expect a second grader to be here yet. So some things are just a student has just not developed those skills yet. So they're not automatically a sign of a disability. So, some roadblocks that prevent students from being able to be successful in math. One, they're not able to master number facts. Secondly, their computational weaknesses. They're able to understand the concept, but they could misread signs and numbers. They may also not be able to copy the problem correctly. Another roadblock would be difficulty with transferring those skills and make a connection. So the teacher has taught the skill, but they can't quite make a connection from what the teacher taught to maybe what's on the paper or applying it in real life. Okay. Language disability. Sometimes it's just a simple vocabulary. They're not able to carry that language over from math. And then an inability to visualize it. This is where this could be the most severe, but it occurs when a student cannot perceive the difference between size and shapes and amounts of objects. So it requires them to rely solely on rote skills, meaning they have to memorize it. So an example of output difficulties, a student with these problems in output may be unable to recall basic math facts, procedures, rules, and formulas. They can be slow to retrieve these facts and pursue procedures, difficulty maintaining precision during mathematical work, difficulties with their handwriting that slows them down. Or like I said, they're copying a problem down from the board or in class, and then they didn't copy it correctly, so then they can't do it. They have difficulty remembering previously encountered patterns, or they just forget what they're doing in the middle of the problem. Those are signs of an output difficulty. So, a student with organizational difficulties may have difficulty sequencing multi step problems. They become tangled up in all the different steps and elements of a problem, all the different components. We may have to break down a problem into smaller steps for this student. They lose appreciation of the final goal or overemphasize an individual element of a problem. They're not able to pick out what's relevant and weed out information that is not needed, and they're unable to judge if the answers they get are reasonable or unreasonable. So we have a question of times five, and we give answers of 25, 1,000, and they don't understand why those different numbers may be wrong or why 1,000 is an unreasonable answer to a question such as 5 times 5. So with language difficulties, these can look like simply just not understanding the vocabulary in math. They're confused by the language and word problems. So that would look like Bob had 3 apples um, and 3 of those were given away, and not understanding that giving away may symbolize a subtraction problem. They have trouble learning and recalling abstract terms, difficulty understanding the directions that they're given. difficulty explaining and communicating about math, including asking and answering questions, difficulty reading text to direct their own learning, and difficulty remembering assigned values or definitions in a problem. Visual, spatial, or ordering difficulties can look like being confused with multi-step procedures, trouble ordering steps to solve a problem, feeling overloaded when faced with a worksheet full of math exercises. They can't copy problems correctly. They have difficult time reading analog clocks. They have difficulties interpreting and manipulating geometric configurations, and they can have difficulty appreciating the changes in objects as they're moved in space. So that may look more like geometry. Some other roadblocks, multitasking and or attention difficulties. So a student with this may be find it difficult to switch between multiple functions in a problem, or be able to tell when tasks can be grouped together or when they must be separated. They can't manage all the demands of a complex problem. With attention problems in math, this may look like them being distracted or fidgety, losing their place when working on a math problem, or appearing mentally fatigued and overly tired when doing math. So, for a number of things, these overlaps of signs and struggles may be necessary to look at the big picture when your student is struggling with tasks. So, you want to make a mental note or a checklist of where your student struggles and see if there's an area that stands out as a major area of concern. So, we rely on you as a learning coach and as well as working with the teacher to watch your students to see where they getting hung up. Is it vocabulary? Are they antsy? Is it a kid can't focus on the problem? There's too many steps for them to focus on. What is their hang up? Once we identify those hangups, then we're able to address that behavior. So polling time. So my student only has problems with word problems. This is what type of roadblock? Are you guys able to type in the chat?
No, we can't type in the chat.
You said they can't?
No, it's blocked. It's locked.
Okay. So since whoever's speaking to me, what type of problem is this with word problems? My
Now,
student.
I would say it would be language, but sometimes they just don't understand the words of the word problem.
Right, this could be language. The student understands, and this parent saying they understand everything else, they get hung up on the word problem. So maybe it's a language roadblock. Okay, thank you so much. Your student can't do multi-step problems at all. This is what type of roadblock? Anyone? Miss Tanya, Miss Ruff?
I would say D.
Yeah, D. This could be any of them. Thank you. This could be any of them, right? And so we would have to work together with the teacher and the learning coach. We have to work together to figure out what exactly in their multi-step problems is the student getting hung up on, so we could maybe narrow it down. And it could be all of these different things, right, that we need to address. So now we're going to talk about. We talked about the roadblocks. Now we need to figure out how we can break through them. So, one, you can improve memory skills. Teach basic math facts. You can use flashcards, doing games, practicing, reteaching at home, working with different modes. So, trying to present a problem verbally, then visually. Maybe it's tactile, like say my kids like Oreos, for example. So maybe we're using Oreos to work on a math problem, right? Reviewing patterns and shapes, playing games, such as memory and Simon and Go Fish, providing a rule book with previous learned concepts. So, like jotting down some notes for the student to go back to, and allowing for the use of the calculator. Sometimes the calculator can help that student better focus on the problem.
What if your child has problem with the common core and the parent doesn't know how to express how to do the common core?
So that would be a good opportunity for you to work with your child's teacher to see what tips and tricks you can use at home to make things more relevant. And also, we have our parent mentor, Jennifer Anderson. She also is a phenomenal resource who can help you find outside resources to help support your students' learning. One resource that I love that can help you as a parent maybe even break down concepts is Khan Academy. Um, this is a online tool that I would suggest for math that can help break some concepts down as well. So we talked about this earlier, improving that language. So having students use graphic organizers to break word problems into pieces, try mnemonic phrases, um, encourage a student to restate the problem in their own words. That's one of my favorite tools. It's like I give you a word problem. Now, what do you tell me what you think this question is asking us? And then also teaching that math vocabulary, making flashcards with them and sitting down and saying, okay, these are some of the words we're going to encounter. Or even the teacher may already give the vocabulary and you kind of reinforce it outside of class. We can improve attention skills. You notice your child is fidgety during math. We may need to allow for frequent breaks to prevent mental fatigue. Give them the choice of a work area or if they need to have music in the background. I know I work well with white noise, and so maybe that may work for your student. Letting them use different colors for different operations. Sometimes having those color blocks allows them to focus on one part of the problem at a time. Having them make a list of the steps they need to complete in order for them to then check them off as they go. Having a visual checklist, reducing the amount of work on a page by only giving a few problems at a time, and teaching a student to rewrite the problem after each step and fold it away. So all of these things are things that you can work with your child's because y'all are special education. So everyone here should have a case manager. And so when you are working with that case manager and working with your child's teacher, these are some things you may want to suggest if they don't already suggest them to help your student be successful. Next, we can improve production. Modeling is one way to do that. Show them how to do it. Teach them how to draw lines to guide their work using graph paper. Allow the student to use manipulatives. Like I said, my kids, I use Oreos or Skittles or things like that, something that they may like to help break show a problem. Allowing extended time to encourage the child to be thoughtful and to take their time while they're thinking, because sometimes the pressure of a clock can cause anxiety, right? And so we want our students to know, hey, why don't you take your time and understand this until you get it. Set goals and rewards for accomplishment. Practice estimating what the answer should look like and providing a math partner or mentor. So another poll, if I want to address my students' math language weaknesses, what could I do? Would I use graph paper, allow extra time, let them color code, or teach them words? If I want to address their math language weaknesses.
I think I was able to unlock the chat. Can anyone verify, is the chat open now?
Yes, ma'am. It's unlocked.
Okay.
Okay, so there y'all can type. All right, thank you, Miss Rochelle. Awesome. D, we right? This is a language weakness. So one of the ways we can break this roadblock down is by teaching them words. Okay. If I want to increase my students' capacity for working memory, what would I do? Allowing frequent breaks, playing games that require sustaining information, let them use a calculator, or teach them mnemonic phrases. I want to work on their working memory. All right. B is the best answer here. We want to play games that require them to sustain the information because we're trying to get their working memory. We want them to be The mnemonic phrases we'll be teaching them is kind of the beginning phase of that, but we want to see that they've retained it using that working memory. We would want to play a game, for example, to show that they've retained what we taught them with the mnemonic phrases. So to learn, there are a few websites. There's righttrackreading.com, pbs.org, /WGBH /misunderstood minds, and also www.ncld.org. These are just some resources. I also mentioned, like I said, Khan Academy. We also have through GCA, you may have heard it mentioned, we do have Tutor Me that also can help with your tutoring needs outside of the school day. They're round the clock. And also, you may want to reach out to your student's case manager and our parent mentor for additional resources. So now I'm going to leave it open for any questions you may have. And so I do want to say it doesn't have to be questions about math per se. If you have any other questions that I can answer for you, I'm happy to take the remaining time to do so. But otherwise, that is the end of my presentation. And I hope that you were able to learn kind of some of the roadblocks that your student may be struggling with and ways in which you can support them and ways in which you can break those roadblocks so that they can be successful in math. Thank you, Ms. Colleen.
Great. Should I go ahead and stop the recording in case people have questions? That way it won't be recorded.
Yep, that's the end of my presentation. So perfect. And then I'll hang back if anyone has any questions.
Great.
I got one.